Welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Pound for Pound Boxing Report. I'm your host, Michael. Joining me this week, live from Taiwan, Sean Newton. And joining us, we hadn't had him on for a while, but we got him on uh, for a special announcement from the UK, live from the UK, the OG of the YTBC, Boxing Beats and Rhymes. And I'll give the floor to you, Beats, because we have a special announcement. You want to say the announcement? We're working on a special project together, so.
Yeah, so basically I've got Mike to help me bring in this new rating system because I think, I'm not saying all the other ratings are flawed, but I think this one has a different dimension because we're breaking the weights up, we're breaking them up, we're letting the heavyweight have their own classification where they're just ranked amongst themselves as heavyweights, but then we've got the higher weights, which we start from cruiserweight to from cruiser, I believe, until light middle. Then we go from welter to featherweight, which Chris Caban and We Live Eat Sleep Boxing is doing, and we have the lower weights, which Michael from Pound for Pound is handling, and that's what we're going to discuss today. And before we get the reason why I think these ratings are pretty effective is, when I look at Roman Gonzalez, they put him in as number one. But when you're going to say he's number one, he might, okay, some people might say he's number one, technically this and that, but he's relying on other people, basically, just to get on HBO. He can't sell a pay-per-view yet, and he's number one. Yeah, okay, Ward didn't sell no pay-per-views either, I don't believe it either, and he was high up. But at the same time, he had a higher profile than Roman. And I think if he's a bigger fish in a smaller pond, it helps him. Like if he's the king of the lower weights, that's a better profile. And you know, it's why these ratings are a little different is with the pound for pound. Let's say if Andre Ward was number one, how would Gonzalez displace him? He's never going to fight him. But with these ratings here, I see you've got a guy named, let's say, Nietis. Now, I don't know nothing about him. But he has a chance to displace Roman because he can actually fight him and take his spot in these ratings. So it's a little different because we're keeping the weights together because the lower weights is obviously flyweight, no, strawweight, junior featherweight. So potentially anybody ranked between there can have a go at each other, and that's where we're going to take it. We're going to try and develop it a little more, and Michael's going to handle the lower weights. I've took care of cruiser to light middle and heavyweight, and Chris Caban, as I said, he's doing the medium weights, which is welterweight to feather.
And
So Mike, yeah.
go ahead. That's what I was going to say. I know you created a Facebook page for these rankings. Let the folks know where they can find it on Facebook.
Oh yeah, it's called Boxing Beats World Rankings. Is it World Rankings? Yeah, Boxing Beats World Rankings on Facebook. Yeah, so you can find the whole ranking system there. And you know, we're gonna keep developing it. We're gonna get other people. I won't just be doing them. You know, Mike's gonna handle the lower weights because I think he's the best qualified to do lower weights for a little while. But I'm gonna switch it up. Like Chris Caban has took care of his section this time up. I'll get other YouTube channels and other contributors to do the ratings, and we'll go from there. And we might actually change the system to a voting system, so they say, "Oh, you're being biased. So we'll see how it progresses.
Yeah, absolutely. For those who do not know, I'm often on Beats' page on YouTube discussing boxing with him and EJ Boxing Live and the fellas every other week. We converse back and forth. Been talking about it for a year now, and he's reached out to me with this idea, and I was like, "Cool, I'm all for it." It helps get the model situation straight in boxing. As we all know, one of the big problems of the sport is that with so many divisions and so many organizations and so many belts within those organizations, it really gets muddled, and you really don't have an idea of who is the best of the best. And a lot of people get the weight divisions confused and whatnot. So I think what we're trying to do is trying to alleviate that problem, whether it's for the hardcore geek like ourselves or for the casual observer of the sport. And I think Beats, this really has some potential here.
Yeah, definitely so. So just for some of my subs, can you explain the ratings? Because I don't think they're that familiar.
Okay. Okay, I'll start with mine since I posted my ratings on the Facebook page a couple of days ago. The lower weight rankings are from 105, which is straw weight, up to junior featherweight, which is 122. And what I did was I looked at all the fighters and all the champions in those divisions, and I made a composite rankings of who I think is the best of the best, the top 10, if you will, from that lot. From there, you mentioned Chris Caban. He of Boxing Fans Paradise on Facebook. He did the rankings from the medium weight rankings, which is from light welterweight all the way up to super middleweight. Light welterweight being 140 pounds, super middleweight being 168. I believe Beats you did from you did from 160.
No, I've done the higher weights. That's cruiserweight to light middle and heavyweights. But what I need is break down your actual of the fighters.
Okay, my ratings exact specifically. Okay, okay, I did number 1, Roman Gonzalez, WBC flyweight champion. He's on a roll. He's in his prime right now. 43-0, 37 knockouts, three Division 3-time champion at strawweight, junior flyweight, and now flyweight. He will be fighting Brian Valorio October 17th. A lot of people with the retirement of Floyd Mayweather has put him up as number 1 pound for pound. Number 2 on my lower weight rankings, I got Guillermo Rigondeaux, current junior featherweight champion, WBA version. Number 3, I got Juan Francisco Estrada. Rigondeaux, a lot of people believe, I personally believe, out with Mayweather gone, he may be the most skilled overall boxer in the sport, pound for pound. Number 3, I got Juan Francisco Estrada, WBA, WBO flyweight champion. Fought the aforementioned Roman Gonzalez in November 2012. He lost by close decision. Since then, he's been on a real roll. One of the more improved fighters of the sport. Beat Brian Valoria in 2013 to win the WBA, WBO flyweight belt. Has had a dominant reign since. He will be fighting this coming weekend against Tyson Marquez. Number 4, Shinsuke Yamanaka, WBA bantamweight champion. He just fought this past Tuesday against WBC bantamweight champion Shinsuke Yamanaka. He fought this past Tuesday against Anselmo Moreno. Close decision. We will talk about that bout later on in the show. Number 5, a guy who I consider the most talented young fighter in the sport, Naoya Inoue, current WBO junior bantamweight champion. Destroyed Omar Narvaez to win that belt December last year. Also former WBC junior flyweight champion. He moved up 2 weights to get that fight. I think he's just a terrific fighter. Dane Nietes. If you want to talk about a pro's pro, a true professional, Dane Nietes is the guy. Even though he's 34 years old, he's fighting is better than ever. During current WBO junior flyweight champion. He's had 7 defenses of that belt. I believe he had 7 defenses of the strawweight belt. Served as one of the main sparring partners for Brian Valoria, who will be fighting Roman Gonzalez, as I said earlier, October 17th on the Triple G Lemieux undercard. Number 7 on my list, Carl Frampton, current IBF junior featherweight champion last time out. Had a very tough and competitive bout against Alejandro Gonzalez Jr. The reason I got him on my list is I think he's legit, and also when I look at Frampton, I look at him. I think he has one of the best jabs, one of the best left hands in the sport. Number 8 on my list, the mystery man, and Beast, you know about this guy, Zalone Tete, junior bantamweight, former IBF junior bantamweight champion, gave up the belt over money. You saw him, Beast, and you were very impressed with him the way he went over to the UK, destroyed Paul Butler. The mystery man, like I said before. Number 9, Scott Quigg. This is what I meant about the confusion. Quigg, the interim WBA junior featherweight belt champion. Even though he has a belt, let's face it, we all know that when it comes to the junior featherweight division, Guillermo Rigondeaux is the WBA junior featherweight champion. With that being said, that doesn't take away from Quigg. He's been on a roll lately, destroyed Kiko Martinez last time out, and we're going to talk about his future and the possibility of a fight between him and Frampton reopening again. And last on my list, number 10, I'm not Rungroy, IBF flyweight champion from Thailand. Won the belt, upsetting Kazota Ioka in a surprise to many folks. He's defended the belt since, defeated Zhao Shiming this summer, I believe. This summer, I believe it was. Last time out, I can't remember the guy's name. I'm not going to try to pronounce his name because I will butcher it. As far as many people felt one of the dirtiest fights you will ever see, but take away the fact the guy's a pretty talented fighter and has one of the hardest styles in boxing to solve. So there you go. Those are my top 10 lower weight rankings, going from strawweight all the way to junior featherweight.
Okay. Like no Hecky Butler. How far is he away from the rankings? Butler.
Here's the problem with Hecky Butler, and you can unmute your mic if you want to chime in as well, Sean. My problem with Hecky Butler, he's a good fighter. The problem is, he fights in a weak division. And I didn't like the fact that he moved down from junior flyweight to strawweight. Okay. He could have stayed there and sought a potential fight against Nietes, which I thought could have been easily made because of the money would have been there. So I didn't like that fight. And again, he fights in the weak division. So he's a solid fighter, but there's still things to be. I need to see more of him against better competition. Put it that way.
Okay. So who was the guy? I believe it was Yamanaka. He fought recently. What was the result of his recent fight? I'm quite ignorant down there. I'm not even
yeah, we'll talk more about this with Sean, and you can chime on this fight as well quickly, Sean. Fought Anselmo Moreno this past Tuesday in Japan. The fight was the split decision. Two judge had it for Yamanaka, one had it for Moreno. The difference ended up being basically a point. Very close fight, very competitive fight. Some thought it was boring. I didn't think so. Quickly, Sean, your thoughts on this bout? I shared it with you, and you thought this draw was justified. A lot of people felt that Moreno should have got the decision.
I mean, that's wobbling. I mean, it's a close fight. So if you had Moreno winning or you have Yamanaka winning, I mean, you can't really take it away from one person or the other because it was a close fight. They all had their moments. I mean, it was a really technical fight, both guys trying to get off, using jabs and trying to counter. So, I mean, it wasn't like a war, but, I mean, it was a well-thought-out fight between two top-level guys. And, I mean, everyone knows Moreno is a top-level boxer, and he made it difficult. He didn't move as much as I thought he would. He was right there, just like outside of range and sort of trying to slip and then counter. So it was a good fight. And I mean, I think a rematch would be even better because now they sort of felt each other out. They've come with a new game plan. But I don't think you could be sad or angry about whoever you picked because it was that close of a fight. Me, I'm sort of old school in my beliefs, and I think if you're going to go try to take the champion's belt, then you need to take the champion's belt. So really close fights, I always lean towards the champion anyway, because I think if you're going to go there and you want to be the champion, you better do something significant. And I don't think Moreno did anything significant to take the title away from Yamanaka. But at the same time, this was Yamanaka's big fight to sort of solidify himself on the pound-for-pound list. He just made it, and here he is against a big-name opponent. And people were hoping this would be sort of his big launching pad, but he wasn't able to sort of step up to that level and beat Moreno convincingly or stop him late, which some people thought maybe he would be able to do.
Yeah, and because of that, Beats, when we come out with the next ratings, I will probably put Moreno higher on the list, and I say that because Moreno, longtime belt holder at 118, but he was upset by a guy by the name of Payano last year. But I think that was just an issue of styles making fights. Just the style of Payano was proved to be problematic. But Moreno, he's a very, very good fighter. So for sure, they will. Go ahead.
When you say you're going to put him higher, he's not on the list at all, though. Yeah, you mean he's actually going to make the list? Is that what you're saying?
I may put him on the lower level of the top 10. Rungroy, even though I have him on the list, like I said, his last fight was just so dirty. and he's very, very good, but he's old. Okay, and he's proven that he doesn't have the greatest chin in the world. While he will give fighters hell, I think he's clearly below Gonzalez. I think he's clearly below an Estrada. But that just speaks to the power, the strength of the division up top. While Moreno, he's right up there with the top fighters, as he proved Tuesday night. He's right up there with the top bantamweights in the world, and he also fought Abner Mars, and that fight was kind of foul-filled, which the referee let Abner Mars get away with every dirty trick in the book that bout. So I always put an asterisk with that loss. So Moreno, he's underrated. He's very underrated.
Moreno is a lot like Devin Alexander. You know, lots of skills and lots of tools. But the way to beat him is muck it up, be physical with him. And that's what Mares did, and he just tried to do with Cruz, but it wasn't as effective. And that's what Payano did. I mean, he was really physical, and he was mugging him and pushing him backwards and making it really difficult for him to get into a groove. And, you know, that's what Yamanaka could have done. I thought he could have been a little more physical. He could have dictated a little more, and he could have went to the body a little more to make this fight easier. But
and in my personal rankings, like I said, is mine, but it's very close. I mean, for me, Beats, I know everybody has Roman Gonzalez as the top dog right now, but if you've seen Deontay Nietes will give Roman Gonzalez a very, very good fight, in my opinion. I think Inoue, even though he's green, he's as talented as any of these fighters, any fighter in the world, regardless of weight, lower weight, middleweights, or even the heavier guys. He's that talented. And I just think he needs more experience. If he gets that, he could be Gonzalez too.
Is the Moreno, is that the guy who fought Abner Morris?
Yes, that guy.
Yeah, Anselmo Moreno. Oh, okay, that's a good win then. Because he's quite a skilled boxer. That's a good win. You'll have to give him a good win for that. So if he's in the lower weights, if you put him in the lower weight rankings, I won't be surprised. He'd probably deserve it on the strength of that. But then again, is Moreno on the slide?
Not based on this fight. Not based on this fight, no.
No?
No.
Okay. So what fights should we be looking out for? What divisions in the coming months?
First and foremost, the Roman Gonzalez, Brian Valoria. Well, first, even before that, Juan Francisco and Estrada. He's going to be fight. He will fight Hernan Tyson Marquez this coming Saturday in Mexico. Marquez is a former champion at 112. Even though he's a former champion, I just think that this is very much a showcase bout for Estrada, who I think I know you, Ben Umar, who we both been on your show with, thinks highly of. Estrada, like I said before in my description, one of the more improved fighters in the sport over the last 2.5, 3 years. No visible flaw. He does everything well. But back to Valoria. So I think he will eventually stop Tyson Marquez. I just think he's that good. Moving forward, October 17th on the undercard of Triple G and Lemieux. I mentioned Roman Gonzalez. He will be fighting Brian Valoria. A lot of people think that Roman Gonzalez will just roll over him. I don't think so. I'm going to be contrarian here. I think that Valoria, because of his skill set, because he can box, and because he has a punch of his own, I think he's going to have his moments, let's just say, with Roman Gonzalez.
I don't think Gonzalez. Well, I could be wrong because like I say, I'm not the most lower weight literate, but that's probably the hardest puncher that Gonzalez has faced.
In quite a while, yes. On paper, in quite a while, yes. Absolutely. On that same night, Deontay Nietes, he will be making his United States debut in Carson, California, at StubHub against a fighter by the name of Alejo. Look for that. Just scanning the schedule right quick. Those are the two main fights right now. The three main fights, I should say, you should look forward to. Those fights: Estrada fighting Marquez, Roman Gonzalez fighting Brian Valoria, as well as Nietes, he will be making his debut on the 17th as well. So those are the three main fights I would look forward to right now.
Okay. Well,
Think about Valoria. This is an American guy fighting for the first time on pay-per-view in the U.S. You talk about a guy who's going to be motivated. And he's never been rolled over by anybody. Like, Estrada beat him, but he didn't stop him until, like, the 11th round. So, you know, I mean, I would think that he's going to come out hard early on, and it's going to be a competitive fight until the mid-rounds. And then at that point, Gonzalez is going to start breaking him down.
yeah. I really enjoyed Valoria's fight with Marquez, man. Is it Tyson Marquez?
Yes. Yeah.
That was a great fight, man. That was a great fight. And I think in that fight there, I think that just exemplified, you know, Hawaiian Punch, man. He's one of my favorite lower weight fighters, for definite.
Yeah, I just think this is my opinion. I just think personally he's going to give he's just going to give Roman Gonzalez a tough fight, particularly early on. I think the power and the youth of Gonzalez will be the difference in the end, but he's not Chocolatito, he's not going to roll this guy over. If he does, I will be highly impressed. Yeah. I will understand why folks have him number one pound for pound, but I just don't see it right now.
All right. Can I ask? All right. Before we wrap up, I just want to ask both of you. Both your opinions. Should Chocolatito be number one in the overall pound for pound ranking?
You go ahead, Sean. You go ahead.
I like Roman Gonzalez, and I have no problem with him being in the top 5. I think legitimately he deserves to be there. A lot of people undervalue him because he's small and they just don't know him. But I think Klitschko should be number 1. I mean, based on his position and what he's done to the division as far as clearing it out, and now Floyd stepping down, he's the person that has done the most and deserves to move into that position temporarily until, you know, we see what happens with Fury and we see what Ward does in a step-up fight once he gets busy, and we see what GGG and Kovalev do in the next fights. But at this point, I think Klitschko deserves to be there, even if it's just until somebody else comes and claims it off of him.
Okay.
Top 3, top 4, does Roman Gonzalez deserve to go up there? Absolutely. Personally, I would put a Ward and a Klitschko up there because of the fighters that they are and because of resume. Gonzalez, he's done an awful lot in his career, but the resume doesn't compare at all to.
Really?
I just don't. No, he hasn't. Look, when you look at Gonzalez, he fought Estrada. Some folks thought he beat him, but what other top level guys? Put it this way: he hasn't fought a whole lot of guys who people thought who will give him a good bout. You can't say that with Ward going into the Super 6. People thought that Mikkel Kessler would beat him. People thought that Carl Frampton could give him a bout. People thought going in that Chad Dawson would give him a tussle, and he beat them all easily.
Yeah, and with Chocolatito, has he ever held 2 belts at once?
No.
Which is a problem. Not a problem per se, but if we're going to say pound for pound, I would have thought he would have at least have had to have beat Estrada again more convincingly, and then wait for the Valoria result, and then look at that. But I'd have him in my top 10. Top 10 definitely. Pound for pound number 1. That's kind of what prompted me to do these rankings.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just don't understand how people, and this is not a criticism against guys, it's just if people are not busy and they're not fighting, like Ward, everyone knows talent-wise he's one of the top 2 or 3 guys in the world. But he hasn't done anything since the Super 6 except fight Dawson, who was drained a whole weight division down. If he would have beat him at 175, that would be a whole different story. And other than him, he has fought 2 other marginal characters from 168. So since 2011, he's fought 3 guys, 2 of who are nothing, and 1 guy who was a linear champion at 175, but he trained him down to 168 to beat him, which is his biggest claim to being on the top. And outside of his Super 6 wins, he hasn't done anything. And that's not to criticize him, because he should be doing something, but he's had promotional issues and blah, 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 blah. But this doesn't put him in #1 pound for pound based on not doing anything. Like,
see, this is why it's kind of, this is why this list is coming about, because it's, if you really think about it, it's a little bit unfair to compare the Klitschko's, the Wards, to the Chocolatitos, to the Rigondeaux in a sense, because Roman Gonzalez, he hasn't had the opportunity. He suffers from the Roy Jones syndrome in a sense. He hasn't had the opportunity. Take that back. That's a wrong comparison. He hasn't been in a position where he can fight the elite guys. And if some of the elite guys he had the opportunity to face, they quite frankly ducked him. Ioka, the fight was on the table for him because of Ioka. Ioka ducked him. The Estrada bout, okay, he fought him. He fought him, but outside of that, what A+ level guy has he had the opportunity to face? Period. Who has been around at the same time he was at strawweight or at junior flyweight? I mean, it's just not there. That's why I just put. To me, resume matters somewhat, and that's why I would still have a Ward and a Klitschko over him, because resume matters.
Well, but Klitschko's busy, and he's cleaned out the heavyweight division, so that's legitimate. I mean, he's beat every single top contender and taken the O's from 5, 6 guys in the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, he's been busy, so there's no question there. I mean, no one is saying that Klitschko doesn't deserve to be on the top, or at least top 3. My problem is with Ward. If you look at him at one ranking, he's ranked 18th because he's been inactive. And then in another ranking, he's ranked #2, and people are criticizing all the hype GGG's getting over Ward. But Ward's still ranked ahead of him. But GGG, at least he's been busy. I mean, he's been fighting 3, 4 times every year. Whereas Ward, like I said, since 2011, he's fought 3 times. And Rigo is the same. I mean, and Rigo, he only has 1 legitimate win on his resume, which is the same as Estrada for Gonzalez. So I mean, basically,
that's why the comparison is limited to that range area, and that's why I put Gonzalez over Rigondeaux. If it's based on pure skill, Rigondeaux all day. But again, resume matters, and that's why. And Estrada, excuse me, not Estrada, but Gonzalez has done more throughout his career, and that's why my lower weight rankings, I put him above him.
No doubt. All right, Mike. So next time, I don't know when it will be. I'll have to schedule when we're gonna regularly do the ratings, but it will be soon. It will be soon, and we'll definitely do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. Eventually, we're very, very excited about. We will have more details, more updates coming soon. I will share we'll have it on the Facebook page, the pound for pound rankings on the Facebook page. Boxing Beats World Rankings will also have updates on my blog, as well as Boxing Beats and Rhymes, his YouTube channel. So venture we're very excited about. Thanks for joining us tonight, Beats. I know it's late over there. I know you need some sleep, but we're really looking forward to it, brother. Really looking forward to it.
No problem, Michael. All right, Sean, take care. Okay.
All right.
Gail?
Good evening. Good evening. I was a freeway flyer. Glad to be with you.
Yeah.
And I hear we're chewing over the pound for pound ranking.
Yeah. Let me get to the regular spiel. For those, we had to kind of make an announcement there. Gail, Boxing Beats and Rhymes, and myself, we kind of coming together on a venture project where we're going to do our own rating systems with other folks within the YouTube boxing community and whatnot. Just kind of fix the confusion about who's ranked here and who's ranked there, pound for pound this and pound for pound that. There's a Facebook page about it, Boxing Beats World Rankings. Just do a search for that on Facebook, and we're doing that. So we have Beats on there to make that kind of announcement. So
very exciting. Very exciting. Looking forward to it.
Absolutely, absolutely. For those who are new to the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, Pound for Pound Boxing Report is a live YouTube show /blog /podcast. Excuse me, it's a live YouTube show /podcast /blog that discusses all things boxing. The motto is, when boxing is good, we will talk about it. When boxing is bad, we will talk about it. Bottom line is, when it concerns boxing, we will talk about it. If you want to find information about the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, more information, just go to the blog page, P4P Boxing Report.wordpress.com. sitting on some exciting news about the blog, but I can't reveal it officially. Just anyway, just go to the right of the page, blog page. You will find links to where to find us all over the internet, all over social media, all over the interwebs. The Facebook page, the 2G Plus pages, the Podomatic page where you can find episodes of the podcast, the Tumblr page, the Twitter handle, which is at P4P Boxing Report, the YouTube channel, the Pinterest board, for the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, the RSS feed. You can find a link to where to find us on Stitcher Radio, where to find us on Flipboard, the email address, which is p4pboxingrpt@gmail.com, and lastly, a link to where you can donate your account. DonateYourAccount.com/P4P Boxing Report. Be a friend, be a pal, be a buddy. Donate your Twitter account. What happens is any tweet that comes from Pound for Pound Boxing Report Twitter page, your Twitter account will be able to retweet any tweet that comes from the Twitter page. With that being said, I will get you into this discussion. We were talking about this earlier with Sean and Boxing Beats. Doing a recap of Shinsuke Yamanaka's decision win around Anselmo Moreno fight that took place Tuesday. Gail, I shared the fight with you, I believe. Yamanaka ended up winning by split decision win. 1 point was the difference. In Japan, back and forth discussion about this bout. There were plenty of folks out there who felt that Moreno deserved the nod, while others felt that the draw was justified. I personally had Moreno up by 2 points, but I can see where folks thought that Yamanaka deserved the verdict. Sean gave his decision, his thoughts on the analysis. Your thoughts on the bout, Gail?
I'm with you. After watching it, I think Moreno did enough to win. I think that he connected more and harder throughout the fight. As I was looking at it, and I was looking at the Japanese feed with a lot of slow motion replays, boy, a lot of those punches of Yamanaka's were going wide, or right. Ones that looked like they hit flush, barely hit. Moreno really showed off his defensive skills. He got out of the way of a lot of that firepower, and I'd give it to him based on that. I'd also give it to him based on an edge in aggression, in moving the action forward, especially in the last fight that was really slow to get going. The first few rounds easily could have gone either way. The middle was a little bit more back and forth. Moreno had some great rounds near the end of the fight, 9th round, 10th round, and I'd give it to him. However, the fight was in Japan, and even though the judges are American, they are sitting in the midst of a Japanese audience, a very partisan audience, and they're human beings, and they hear the reaction, and they hear the oohs and oh, for the hometown guy. So it is really, really tough when someone like Moreno has to go into the lion's den, and it reminds me in a way of having watched the Kell Brook-Sean Porter fight, which was very close, which was in California. And as we were sitting there awaiting the decision, the British fans are all yelling, "And the new! And the new!" before they heard Jimmy Lennon give the final decision. And we didn't think in a million years he'd get that fight. To our big surprise, he did. So it can happen. But boy, when it's that close and you're in one guy's hometown, it's really, really tough to rule against him. And I'm not saying that the judges did a poor job, that they made the wrong decision in a close fight, but had I been sitting there with a scorecard in front of me, Moreno would have won it on my card by a good 2 or 3 points.
I'm going to go back to you and ask you this quick question, Sean. When you look at Yamanaka, I want you to discuss him as a fighter right quick. In Japan over the past, I want to say 10 years or so, there's been kind of a number, well, not a number, but there have been some prominent fighters there who have rounded up, who have tallied multiple lengthy reigns in that bantamweight, junior featherweight range. You had Hosumi Hasagawa, who beat Saha Pram in 2005, had a lengthy reign, and when he had his big fight against Fernando Montiel, he got knocked out in 4. You had Nishioka, who moved up from 18 to 22, had a very lengthy and successful reign fighting in Japan until he had his opportunity against Nonito Donaire, I want to say in 2011, 2010. And when he had that big opportunity, he got stopped. This was the big fight for Yamanaka, Shinsuke Yamanaka against Moreno, former champion, former long-reigning champion. What does it say about him as a fighter? I know people are looking down at Yamanaka now, but what does it say about him that he got this opportunity in the big fight where some people thought he won, some people thought he lost? But the fact is, he was very competitive. A lot of people felt, some people thought he won, and he didn't flop like the other fighters, Hasegawa and Nishioka. What does that speak to Yamanaka as a fighter?
You know, I mean, lots of people, because they don't watch fights in Japan because it's all in Japanese and they just don't have access to it. They feel that they're like only fighting there and that they're being protected and that they aren't getting the exposure, so they're not fighting the top level guys, which in a sense can be true in a lot of senses, but that's the same as a lot of UK fighters earlier on. I mean, when you have a big support network behind you and you don't need to go on the road and you make good money and you're a superstar, what's your motivation to go to the States to fight a top level guy, now giving up the home court advantage just to kowtow to what some people believe you should do if you're a legitimate champion? Whereas a guy like Ward never fights outside of Oakland, and Floyd Mayweather never fights outside of Vegas. But for other people, they need to go on the road to do it. But at the same time, when you're fighting in the UK like a Brook, or you're fighting in Japan like a Yamanaka, it's difficult to get the top level guys also to go to face you, unless they're young and they want to prove themselves, or they're old and this is their last chance. Other guys, I mean, are in the same circumstances you are. They don't want to risk everything to put themselves in this hostile environment and possibly lose to you, setting your name up but then diminishing themselves. So, I mean, it's difficult, right? But you have to give it up. Like, you know, Moreno, why did he go to Japan? He just lost his title and was stopped by Piano. So he's sort of in a position where he needs to rebuild. So you need to take a risk. So he was willing to go to Japan to fight Yamanaka. And he lost the fight because Yamanaka had home court advantage and it sort of benefited him. But at the same time, this was a good fight. It was back and forth. Both guys had their moments. And I think in a rematch, it would be good. You know, they should try to do a rematch. Maybe they could do it in Hong Kong, which wouldn't be so biased, but, you know.
Or Macau.
Yeah, well, that's what I mean, Macau.
Okay, Macau. Okay.
They're basically the same. Two islands beside each other, Macau, Hong Kong. But yeah, fight in Macau, I mean, the system's already set up, it would be easy, and it would be more fair for both of them. And they both deserve that now because they had a good fight, and they both sort of legitimized themselves. I mean, Moreno has done it before, but his step-up fight, he lost to Marquez. So, you know, this was another chance fight that he had, and he lost too. But it's contentious, so he deserves an opportunity to go out there and seek some revenge.
Speak on Sean's notion of a possible rematch. I hear you, Sean, and you're right, ultimately. The issue is, I don't know if it'll happen. I just don't know what will happen. Look, this was the big fight for Yamanaka, and I think his camp are like, we got through that, let's move on. And when you look at the landscape, it would be a rematch in Macau. That would be nice, but there are other possibilities out there for Yamanaka. A move to 122 to fight some of the big dogs up there, or he could fight for one of the Kameda brothers at 118, or lastly, wait for Inoue to eventually move up to 118 pounds. So a rematch, that will be nice, but I just think that Moreno is going to be left out here. The future for Shinsuke Yamanaka.
Yeah, I think you're right. He dodged a bullet. He and his camp have to know it, and there's no risk versus reward ratio really that would make it worth his time, unless the check was really big. And I don't think, versus many of the other choices you just listed, the pay differential would be enough to make it worth his time. I don't think he should wait for a move up to 118. By any opponent. I mean, you can wait around forever. You don't know when that kind of stuff's going to happen. And then you set up the kind of thing where you've got another Andre Ward on your hands, just as we were talking about, where they're kind of, twiddling their thumbs, waiting for their dance partners to show up. I think he would be fine with kind of a keep busy fight. Let somebody who's ambitious test themselves against him, probably fairly safe. Wouldn't cost him a lot of money to do it, and make sure he stays out in front of the public who supports him, and in another 6 months reassess where he is.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe you want to follow up on that, Sean?
I was just going to say, with the potential Inoue fight, it could come pretty soon, because Inoue jumped over one division because he's young and his body is growing so fast, and now he's just been injured and he's sitting around and. When that happens, people tend to put on extra pounds. And we don't know what he's coming in for his next fight. So maybe he could come in easily at 118, because he fought his last fight at what weight, 112?
115 when he fought. He moved up from 108, 115 to destroy Navarez, and he's only like 22 years old, so he's a young kid.
Moving up to 118 to fight in Japan against a top-level Japanese guy to solidify himself. There's that whole domestic issue going on there, and that would be a super fight inside Japan. So that could even be a potential fight for New Year's, which for them is like their big fight date.
Yeah, but Sean, do you think Inoue should make his first fight at 118, Yamanaka?
But
really, should he test himself against somebody else up there at that weight?
But he's shown that he just wants to take the big fights, right? Like when he jumped up 2 weight divisions and then fought like the old veteran guy from Argentina. I don't think he's afraid. And domestically, this is a big money fight. If you tried to fight somebody else, you could lose and nobody knows who he is. And, if you lost...
they're going to protect him. They're going to make sure that he doesn't... That situation won't happen. He's big money over there. He means a lot of capital over there.
I would think he'd want to test himself first. And, it is not, it's probably too tight on the calendar to make a New Year's fight for him, depending on what shape he's in right now. Because he'd probably need to get in the ring, before the end of October, realistically. But maybe he does a tune-up fight by then. Who knows?
Oh, he has to. He fought last December 30th or 31st. He was supposed to fight in May, but has been out because of a hand injury. I'm hearing from Asian Boxing on Twitter that there was supposed to be an announcement coming up in a few weeks, but hadn't heard anything yet. So he will probably make, if that's the route that Inoue is going to go, eventually move up to 118, if not stay around, rather than stay around to seek an opportunity against Roman Gonzalez, for instance. He would have to make a couple of defenses there and get his body, even though he's a young kid, still has to be an adjustment period, get his body used to fighting at a higher weight. So, yeah.
Exactly. Got to take a test drive first.
Yeah, absolutely. This past, on the same day as Yamanaka and Moreno, Julian Williams, he fought destroying a cat in 93 seconds. Don't talk about the fight as much. Well, you can talk about the fight a little bit if you want, Gail and Sean, but talk about the fight and who he fought, but also talk about the future of Julian Williams. I'll just ask it simple. Do you think it's time for Julian Williams to now step up to possibly fight the big boys, the big dogs, if you will, at 154? I know Trout has called him out recently. We also know that Charlo destroyed K9 a couple of weeks ago. How soon do you think it will be before Julian Williams is ready for championship quality opponents? Or do you think he should fight a top 10 guy and go that traditional route?
Well, first of all, he destroyed a very overmatched Luciano Cuello, who was 35-3 coming into the fight, something like that. So he dispatched him quickly. And if I talk much longer, I will have talked about the fight longer than the fight took to happen. So
Yeah.
I was at the Sands in Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, which is a fun little regional venue for fights. If you're ever out that way, Bethlehem, PA, of all places, they stage some decent stuff. And I'm really liking this toe-to-toe Tuesday theme that PBC has got going on with Fox Sports 1. Kind of fun to watch some boxing on Tuesday nights from these regional venues. So Williams is already ranked number 10 junior middleweight by the WBA, and I think he's ranked 7 or 8 by the WBC. So he's already up there in the top 10. And yeah, it was fun because along with Mauro Romalo, the color commentator for the broadcast was Austin Trout. And he and Williams have done a little bit of calling out of each other on Twitter, and Trout admitted, that he was getting engaged with this stuff. It was all part of the game, and he promised that he would have his commentator's hat on, but at one point he said, well, I'm taking my commentator's hat off, and then spoke as a potential opponent. And at the end of the fight, Williams looked right over at him and called him out. So I think that is two trains headed toward each other, and it's a good fight for those two. They're both action fighters, so it'll be fun. But I think Williams will be ready to start moving up, and no reason he can't test himself against, say, the likes of a Willie Monroe, for example. That'd be the level of kind of guys he should probably test himself against. Some of the competitors that have dashed themselves up, say, against Canelo, against Triple G, see how he measures up against some of the mutual opponents, and then he can see, where he wants to be at junior middleweight. I don't know if he has any aspirations toward the middleweight division, but there are lots and lots of fights that can be made this general weight class area. It's a really rich division again, and he's right in there. It was a good outcome for him.
We've talked about Julian Williams before on this show, Sean. His progress so far. Your thoughts?
Well, it's hard to say after a fight like this because, like Gail was saying, it didn't last very long. This just shows that at this point he needs to step up to fight some competition. I mean, like Gail was saying, he's ranked up there right now. On BoxRec, he is ranked number 12, ahead of Austin Trout. So you can see why there's like sort of a back and forth between the two of them. I mean, at this point, I don't know if Austin Trout would be maybe too much for him, just because he is an ex-champion who has fought at that elite level. If you think maybe that's too much of a jump up for him. But a guy like Willie Nelson, who's just coming off of a big win against another prospect, that would sell. And
it's a nice fight. Nice fight.
A good sort of evaluation of both of those guys. And this could be sort of one of those fights that the winner then gets a title shot, and they're both sort of, well, I mean, obviously Willie Nelson has a lot more experience because he's been in with some other guys, but he's also shown to be pretty vulnerable as well. And, he's been stopped. So we will see what a guy like Julian Williams could do against a guy like him who hits hard, experienced. He came out in his last fight and showed that he had a good game plan and wore the young guy out and ended up beating him, stopping him. So it would be a good test. And then you could put one of those guys, the winner, in against one of the top champions in the division. Maybe put him in with Andrade. He's sitting around with no dance partner as well.
Well, Andrade, he has to figure out what the hell he wants to do with his career before he can think about fighting. Get his managerial, promotional matters situated before that.
But he's the best in the world. Come on.
Williams has also called out Jermell Charlo, which would definitely be a step up for him. And, Charlo needs a decent opponent, and maybe Williams is it.
Yeah, they were supposed to fight. I think Jermell was supposed to fight Andrade correct me if I'm wrong, Gail. So yeah, that could be a possibility as well for Williams going forward.
Yeah, there's a lot of mix and match you could do with guys that are sort of at that, just below the top level.
I don't know if any of you saw this fight. Hecky Butler, strawweight champion, WBA version, fought a domestic fight against a guy by the name of Kunkel. I heard the fight was very competitive. I haven't been able to find it, and so I'm just asking if you, Sean, you're all over YouTube and whatever. Gail, have any of you seen the fight? And if you have, your assessments, because I haven't seen it, so I can't really give an accurate account of what went down.
Yeah, I haven't saw a link at this point, not yet. And I mean, I even had the same problem with some of the fights from a couple of weeks ago. I mean, the Marta Rosian fight, I still haven't found a link for that one yet. So I'm still searching.
Yeah, I haven't seen a link to it either. I was surprised to see it come up as a decision, actually. But hey, a win is a win, in the end. So we'll have to see if the Hexecutioner pops up on YouTube here and check it out.
During the announcement of the rating system that Boxing Beats that Ryan and myself were partaking in or beginning, Beats mentioned Hecky Butler and my thoughts of him, and I gave my assessment of him and whatnot. See What You Need has joined us. What's going on, What You Need? What's going on?
Hey.
I'll mute your mic, and you can get into this discussion as well, What You Need. We've talked about Butler previously, but not that often here on the show, and I'll just ask if anybody can respond. For those who have seen him, What You Need, if you've seen him as well, your assessment of Hecky Butler.
Very busy, active fighter. Can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's a very busy, active fighter. South African dude, good. Those smaller guys, they're just very quick and stuff. So I think mostly it's activity. Nothing really stood out and impressed me particularly about him, but he has a nice little mid-range inside game. That's what I liked about him. That's about it, really. I watched a couple of his fights. Yeah.
Yeah, my big disappointment in Butler was the fact that he decided to move down to strawweight from 108, where he could have stayed there and got a possible fight with Nietes. I wish he would have stayed there. It would have been we would have been able to see how good he is, but you're not going to see that now because he's fighting in, quite frankly, a weak division. I'll go to you, Gail, and then you, Sean. Your thoughts of Hecky Butler in terms of his ability as a fighter?
I think he's very good. A lot of what makes it tough to judge some of these smaller fighters is we just don't get a chance to see them very often in the United States in particular. That's part of why I'm so enthused about Chocolatito's rise among the American public. They're starting to be willing to watch the smaller weight division boxers. But here we are on this show. We know about the fight. We know what the outcome was. Still haven't even seen it.
It wasn't televised.
Yeah,
I was looking for all over on YouTube What You Need. I've been unable to find it. So his last fight with Konko.
I find him a very entertaining fighter to watch. He's
very busy. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Lomachenko.
Absolutely, yes. Good point. He is active in the ring. There's a lot to watch. He's showy, I think, is what you'd be fair to say. Is he a knockout king? Is he, going to throw those thudding sort of punches? When you're at the smallest weight divisions of the sports, you don't always see that. I think he's made it, I will give him credit. Here he is out of South Africa in a really, in the minimum weight, straw weight divisions, and he's made a great career for himself. Good for him.
Yeah, I really like Manny Uslan. I like that little dude. But he's cool. He's cool. Yeah. I like Hecky.
Your thoughts on him, Sean?
He was getting a lot of push for a small weight guy, a lot of PR, and the South African team that represents him was trying and really trying to push him. But I agree with you. I mean, his best bet would have been to fight Nietes. I mean, beating a legitimate guy would have legitimized him. but moving down to pick easier, smaller fighters with names that nobody knows, I mean, it doesn't help your cause. And then when you struggle with them and fights go the distance, it doesn't make it seem as if you're really that impressive. The problem with him is he doesn't really have any power, so maybe that's why he moved down, because he felt that it was just too much up there, and you know, these guys had power and he wasn't able to like keep them off. So he figured moving down, at least it wouldn't be such an issue. But that's one of the problems, because even when you're throwing a lot of punches, if you're not really doing anything and you're not hitting guys, and you're hitting guys the same size as you, I don't understand why this power issue is a problem. I mean, if you are 160 and you're fighting a 160-pounder, if you hit him on the chin, you're going to knock him out. If you're 105 pounds and you're fighting a 105-pound fighter and you hit him on the chin, you're going to knock him out. I mean, girl fighters at this weight, I mean, they knock each other out. So, you know,
They do.
I don't understand that whole argument. The problem is he just doesn't have any power, and so he makes every fight difficult for himself. And he is not so good that he easily beats guys and is able to like Pernell Whitaker his way through 12 rounds, looking like
Exactly.
Well, he's a little He's scrappy. He's scrappy. But what I like about him, like I said, is you know those little guys. They have this quickness. This kind of I don't know what to say about them. The busyness, the busyness about them. That it kind of gets my attention. So I ended up watching him. I watched a couple fights of him because of that.
He's but he's quick, what you need, but he's not particularly slick. He's not Nietes. Not Nietes slick. He's not
sharp. He's not sharp.
Right. He's not slick like a Too Sharp Johnson back in the day. He's not slick like Ricardo Lopez was during his prime. And because of that, you have to put an asterisk, a question mark, if you will, on his ability as a fighter moving down. And he can be hit. He can be hit and you can put him down.
Yep.
like even a Calderon was not a big puncher.
But he was slick as I don't know what.
He won his fights convincingly, so you could see that he was better than the other guys. Not every fight was a war. I mean, when he fought Segura, who was a huge puncher, then he ran into problems because, I mean, Segura was a hard puncher but also a good boxer as well. And he was too much for him.
And he was old at that point.
And he was older as well. But, I mean, when he was in his prime and he couldn't punch hard, he was still able to dominate guys well. I mean, Lomachenko, what you need referred to him as being similar to. I mean, Lomachenko doesn't get touched.
But he's very clean. He's very clean with his work as well. The punches are very, very clean. Yeah.
And he looks like he's controlling the ring, like with Donnie Nietes. I mean, he controls the fight. He's doing what he wants to do, and he's stopping other guys from doing what they want to do. It's not two guys in front of each other throwing 100 punches around, not being able to hurt themselves, and not really being able to know who's landing the better shots because it's hard to tell if anyone is actually hurt by what's coming at you. You know,
that's kind of the problem with the lower weight divisions, though. Kind of like if you look at Manny Austin too. I mean, he throws a million punches, but they don't really hurt one another. Such little guys, you know.
Before we move on to the news, I'm gonna quickly give you the opportunity to quickly talk about the Yamanaka Moreno bout as well as Julian Williams bout a couple of days ago.
I didn't even see the Yamanaka and Moreno, and I think that was a good. That's Shinsuke, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. And Anselmo Moreno. I didn't get to see that bout, man. I wanted to see it, but I couldn't find it. So.
Okay. What I'll do is either during the show or I'll post it up in a few minutes. I'll hunt for the link because I got it. I got the fight, and I will share it with you. Since with that being said, let's move on to the kind of news notes and whatever. The press conference this week between Klitschko and Fury. I'll go to you on this one, Gail. Fury, Batman suit scene where he leaped from the chair, beat someone down, and then said, "This is what he's going to do to Klitschko." What the hell? In all your years of experience, have you seen anything like that? I mean, was he cosplaying? What was that?
Yeah, he must be into dressing up. Yeah, you know, we've seen some crazy ass stuff in in press conferences. In fact, I find a lot of modern boxing news conferences, frankly, rather boring, where everyone's fairly polite. But this one was at the other end of the extreme, and I'm going to have to call on what you need here. But I believe in your country, you would call that man a nutter. Am I right?
He'd be a little crazy, yeah. But
oh
you know,
my God, a nutter. You know, he hired some guy who was made up badly, for that matter, as the Joker. He sat there with a fake hood and cape on, and looked like he did some early Halloween shopping, and leaped over the table and did a little staged beatdown of the guy, and said, "This is what I'm going to do," to Klitschko. Klitschko's been dealing with this ever since the fight was. This was just par for the course, and due credit to Klitschko. He's also been asked about this stuff in some conference calls I've been on, and his comments have been more or less the same every time, and they're well put. That he's going to need to educate Mr. Fury. He's going to have to teach him how to behave properly, like he has so many others in the past. He's kept his cool. In fact, he's just sort of laughed at him as if he's an out-of-control toddler, and that's all you can do with a guy like that. No way to take him seriously. When a kid's having a temper tantrum, sometimes you just have to let them, scream it out until they're exhausted, and that's kind of where Fury is. Just, let him go until he tires himself out.
I'll go to you. What you need. I'm sure you saw it. Your thoughts, because yeah.
I was laughing at first, man. It was kind of funny. I don't know. I guess he decided to do a character play or something. So he was playing Batman, and then he came in as if he was Tyson, just normal Tyson, as if he didn't know what he did.
Where was Robin?
I don't know.
Well, hey, Batman! That man's badass enough. He didn't need Robin.
And what was interesting though, how they spun it as Superman versus Batman, and Superman versus Batman was supposed to come out next year, I think. So it's kind of they kind of took it and went with it a little bit, but I guess these younger fighters, David Haye, Tyson Fury, Keith Thurman's not really that animated. He just kind of talks a lot.
Not at all. No, not at all.
And he's more serious actually. But at the end of the day, I guess it's just that they were trying to entertain. But I hope he understands that. I hope he can back up what he's doing, because he doesn't want to turn out like David Haye.
Right.
Well, as a side note, the problem with Fury, I think, is that more than the Batman get-up is the fact that he has had to lose so much weight reportedly to get ready for this bout. I mean, according to Peter Fury, Tyson Fury has had to lose 4 stone to get to optimum weight, which is 56 US pounds, and I think that's going to be much of an issue more than how he's acting at this press conference, but that's neither here or there. So,
why does he have to lose the weight, though?
He was massively overweight.
Like
I said, to get his normal, regular fighting weight, according to Peter Fury, I was on Wiggy's show 2 weeks ago, and he was telling us that he heard from Peter Fury that to get to optimum fight weight in decent shape, that Tyson Fury has had to lose 4 stone, which is 56 pounds. That's how overweight he was going into camp. So that's going to be a bigger issue in terms of how crazy he's acting. But and I think that's going to play a role in the fight. It's going to be one of the reasons he loses, by the way. But I'll go to you on this one, Sean. Is there any way you can sum up this conference? Is it just something to be dismissed, or just part of the show, or your thoughts?
Well, I mean, in boxing, this is not normal at this day and time, but
not normal.
It's not abnormal. I mean, in wrestling, it was the norm. In MMA, there's a lot of this component as well. And if you look at the UK as opposed to America, I mean, their press conferences tend to be a little more like this, a little more exciting. Someone getting
Animated.
fast, fights always happening. This is not unusual. And I think the UK crowd really feeds off of this, the whole soccer hoodlum mentality. So they really embrace it. So I think he's just playing with that and just building it up even more. And I think psychologically it has to have an effect on Klitschko. No matter how stoic he tries to be, I mean, he still has this crazy guy in front of him, doing all these really, as he says, bipolar, schizophrenic type of behavior. So it's got to unsettle you, sort of like Ali did when he fought Liston and when he fought Foreman as well. Just his manic sort of personality that he was throwing towards those guys. So it's not like this is unusual, but I mean, generally guys don't dress up in costume and do it. Usually they just do it, right?
That's the point, yeah.
I think he took it to the next level. You call that the next level.
That's
man,
right.
look, that dude was he was on 10, man. That dude was on 10.
But the thing with Tyson Fury is you either love him or you hate him, and that's great. That's great for boxing.
Absolutely. One thing that our counterparts in some of the other combat sports have done better is set up the hero and the villain, and guys like Fury, they're fine with I mean, he dressed up as Batman, but in this case he really is the villain. Klitschko's the champion, so a little high drama, kind of interesting right now in the U.S. anyway. There haven't been any costumes, but the more serious trash talking is sometimes done by someone else in the camp. And I'm in particular thinking of Angel Garcia, Danny Garcia's father, who's also batshit crazy, and Guerrero's father. Mm-hmm. Yeah, Ruben Guerrero, who's I would give the edge in crazy to Angel, actually. It's interesting. Robert, has been asked about his father numerous times, and in particular when he was fighting Floyd, and he kind of just shrugs and says, "Hey, that's the way my dad is." Danny has been asked about his father, and he says, "Yeah, I know. He always talks shit about me, and then I gotta back it up." And so far, he has more or less. So I'm thinking back. Actually, probably the wildest news conference featuring an American fighter might have been Paulie Malignaggi, a couple years ago. And I kind of think who it was against, where he went just...
Broner.
Yeah, right, when he fought Broner.
And Broner is another personality, too. So you just have all these...
Yeah, there you go. Broner has certainly pulled a lot of stunts. Broner's stunts tend to be via social media or video versus at the news conferences. So,
did the press conference where Barrera and Morales throw blows, did that happen in the States or was that in Mexico?
Oh, that's a good one. I will check my sources and we'll know before the end of the show.
And then we have the great Ricardo Mayorga. You can't go wrong with him.
Oh, well, now he and Shane Mosley have just had some crazy happen, but 2,500 people saw that fight, so I can barely count it.
I still think that was staged.
Totally.
I think it was too.
Let's move on to development here, featuring junior featherweights. The talked about fight between Scott Quigg and Nonito Donaire is now off, and it seems as if Quigg is trying to move back into a fight with Carl Frampton. Eddie Hearn, excuse me while this page loads up here, I'm sorry. In short, Eddie Hearn, there's discussions happening between a Frampton Quigg fight to happen the first quarter of 2016. As boxing fans know, they tried to make this fight happen, I think either late last year, early this year, but the negotiations kind of fell aside. It didn't come through. So it looks like they're trying to make that fight happen again. I'm gonna go to you on this one. What you need? Your thoughts on a potential Quigg Frampton bout? Do you think it's going to happen this time?
Well, I don't know. I can't really say because they still don't seem to be able to negotiate properly with one another. So I'm not quite sure, even with that
Uh,
information you just
yeah,
said.
I'm looking stuff up. My page is crashing here, so I'll go to you on this one. Yeah, I'll give the details. Give me a quick second here. Talk about them trying to make this fight happen again between Quigg and Frampton.
Yeah, I think it's a great fight. I think might be a little premature for Frampton.
Okay, here it is. I'm sorry. Excuse me for interrupting. Excuse me for interrupting. Here it is. Matchroom boss Hearn said that 60% of the stumbling blocks have been cleared, with dates either in January or February being discussed for world title unification. Quoting Hearn, I had a meeting yesterday with the McGuigans and we're solving problems. I will say if we're going round a horse track, we've probably gone over 60% of the hurdles. We're not down. We're now down the home straight, but we are approaching it. There are still some big hurdles to go through. There are still some hurdles to jump through in order to make this bout happen. So I'll proceed on, Gail.
Yeah, and when you hear there are hurdles, that can be anything from the money to, various issues surrounding who's the A side, the gloves, how big's the ring, timing. It could be any and all of those. And this needs to, for these guys, this is a high risk fight, which requires a high reward, whatever they consider a high reward. So those fights are just very tough to negotiate. I'm. This is still fairly early to me in the negotiations. I'm not too concerned about it. I think they'll make it eventually. Whether they make this their next bout before both of them get in the ring again with somebody else, I think that it might happen that way. They might decide, let's both get another fight under our, belts before then, and we'll fight at the beginning of the year.
Your thoughts on this developing story, Sean?
Am I wrong in saying that Al Heyman is now involved in these negotiations?
I don't know. From the story I saw, I didn't see anything about that.
He's the one that sort of.
I would think he is. Yes.
Yeah. So I mean, financially, you think with his deep pockets and the big trust fund that he has to push boxing forward, that financially it should be an easy fight to make. I mean, I guess the problem would be location and some of the other stumbling blocks like that, like A-side and this and that. But I mean, I think at this point, wouldn't Frampton clearly be the A-side? Isn't he the legitimate champion as opposed to Quigg, who just holds a lower level version of Rigo's title?
Yeah, interim version.
Yeah.
Yeah, he would. The problem, though, when you do have somebody like Al Heyman involved, and that's a good reminder about that, is with him, he wants to engineer the fight so that his guy has every advantage. I mean, he's going to lead on, he's going to try to strong arm them for everything he can get. And you're right, might be location. I think it might be time of year. We really have a pretty loaded schedule right now, right up to Thanksgiving. All the major weekends are taken, and I don't think he's going to want to have these guys lost in the mix. So
well, the bout is being proposed.
They really want to have a bout in December? I don't think
so. Well, from this link here on Sky Sports, the bout is being talked about in either January or February.
And if that's the case, they got plenty of time. Plenty of time, and I would like to see them push it out toward, late winter, early spring. Which means really both of them should have one more fight before that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll go to you on this one. What you need looks like Artur Beterbiev is going to fight an eliminator against a Cuban guy fighter by the name of Sullivan Barrera. Your thoughts on this bout? How much of a test is it for Bertobiev, and for those who hadn't seen Sullivan Barrera, have you seen him, A? And if you have, let the folks know what kind of fighter he is.
Well, I don't know anything about him actually, and I'm not up to date with this information at all. So this is interesting.
Yeah.
Where did you find out that? It's not confirmed, right?
It's on Fight News. Purse bids. It's a IBF eliminator. The purse bid is coming up October the 5th.
It's not listed as the next fight for Bertobiev, but I also saw it going to first bid as well.
Well, Sean, do you know anything about this guy, Barrera?
Not a thing, which tells me it's a make-work fight to keep Bertobiev busy. Can't blame him for doing it. Doesn't mean we have to love it.
You know, it is the same thing I said before. I mean, Bertobiev had a big fight, which would have been huge, fighting Kovalev in Russia, which would have been a gigantic fight. Financially, it would have been a steal for those two guys. I mean, to go to Russia, and where Bertobiev is really the A side, sort of, and it would have been gigantic. But who stopped the fight? Heyman stopped the fight, because if he fights him there, he has no leverage. So what they want to do is make him the mandatory. So he needs to fight this Joe Schmo fucking guy, so he becomes the mandatory, so the fight goes to purse bid. So then he can win purse bid, and he can force Klitschko to not fight on HBO, and he can do the same thing that he was trying to do with the Stevenson fight. So, you know, it's a shame because you're giving up perfectly good fights. And you know a fight that Bertobiev would be super excited and really wants. But obviously, I mean, financially with the extra money,
Excuse me.
just like, okay, no problem, I can wait. Okay. Even though this waiting might make it so he never gets that fight anyway. So it's just a shame to boxing fans who sort of get stuck between this fucking game.
Yeah.
Sullivan Barrera is actually an upcoming Cuban fighter, undefeated, 16 fights in, 11 KOs. He sparred Gennady Golovkin. I'm not too sure if he faced Jeff Lacey, if I'm seeing right.
Wait a minute. Is that the big dude that Lacey got in the ring with?
He knocked out Lacey in the 4th round.
Yeah.
It went. Now I think about it. Is that the big dude who weighed in at one weight and Lacey saw him and he thought he was a monster? Is that guy?
Yeah, who has a brother.
Yeah, he's a light heavyweight. Yep.
But he's got a brother as well, and that was like some sort of strange thing that went on as far as like seeing one guy and then having another guy end up being the guy he fought.
And Lacey thought he was a different guy when he got in the ring with him because he looked so huge. Is that guy?
Yeah.
Oh, yep. Okay.
Yeah, that's a beast, baby. That's a pretty good matchup, actually. It's a pretty good matchup.
Yeah, because now I remember that guy. Because at the very least, that dude could punch. He's a big guy.
Yep.
But beating Lacey isn't much to say. Lacey's career is done. Like how long ago? 10 years ago.
Yeah, pretty much. After Calzaghe, he was done.
Yeah. And who else has he has on a resume? Nobody. He hasn't beat any legitimate fighters. You know, his last two guys, 21-7, but nobody I've heard of. And then Lacey, 27-5, and then Roland Bryant, 18-4, and then it's just 10-7, 7-0, 7-8, 16-10. So yeah.
Okay. Looks. Go ahead.
I said he's still an up and comer, and of course, undefeated makes it the person dangerous because they don't know about loss. So you have to watch into that. He's 33 years old too. Should be interesting.
Speaking of potential fights that could be happening down the road, looks like Roy Jones will step back into the ring again as his adopted home country now, Russia, fighting Enzo Maccarinelli in November. Thoughts on this, anybody, and thoughts on Roy Jones in this move to get Russian citizenship and the whole deal up with that? And anybody can chime in.
I think at his level, fighting McAnally is a good fight. You know, they're both like well past their prime. They both have chins that you can blow on and they're going to fall down. So, I mean, for the old man, boxing show, it's perfect. It fits into that. Both names, it'll do well in Russia. And, I mean, you can see why he's becoming Russian because they're the only place that's still supporting his boxing career.
It's a shame. You know, Roy has decent gig commentating. For Christ's sake, he needs to hang it up. It's ridiculous. And I think he shows a lot of potential as a trainer. You know, that's where he should be concentrating his efforts and making a name for himself instead of fooling around with this stuff. It's just nuts. I know it's similar to hearing that Paulie Malignaggi has got a fight in Italy coming up. What is that about? Is that his little way of saying I've got to go out with a win and you know, I'll do it in Italy, or you know, like a little you know, familial homecoming kind of crazy thing? That's ridiculous. And you know, there is, even if it's a small chance, a very real possibility that these guys hurt themselves or something really stupid happens, and they've just completely short-circuited whatever future they've had. It's not a very smart thing to do.
I can see why Paulie's doing it, though. I think, you know, he probably, lots of people in Italy are saying that, you know, Bronco was the best Italian fighter ever, so, you know, he's got to go in there and make his claim for the Italian championship, right? You know,
for him to do a little, you know, I want to end my career on a win kind of thing, you know, that's, to me, a little bit more harmless. Roy should not be getting in the ring. You know, they all think they're Bernard Hopkins, and let me tell you, folks, you're not. You're not.
Well, the shame is that Roy Jones, at one point, you could say that he is a true TBE. And then the way his career went and the way he's extended it, he's really sort of taken all the shine off of the great accomplishments he's done. He's the guy that won 3 legitimate traditional weight championships, which, I mean, there's only a handful of guys that have done that, and Floyd Mayweather is not one of them. And he's a guy that was the dominant pound-for-pound guy in boxing for so many years and was a pay-per-view star. And then one loss, actually a fight too long. He should have retired after he beat Ruiz. But now he's just becoming sort of old.
Yeah, it's a long spiral down. And you know, it's not like he's going to disappear from the sport. He's extremely visible. There's a lot of people that see him every day that, you know, are young enough, they don't even remember that stuff. So he really has, you know, got a great little gig going for himself, and I really would like to see what he could do as a trainer. You know, extending himself with some additional fighters to work with. You know, but so far he's done very nice work with Jesse Vargas, and I'd like to see what else he can do there. But no, he's off distracted, you know.
Well, I think that he's doing what he wants to do, and I have no problem with a boxer doing that. I can't tell him what to do with their lives, especially where I think he's trying to make history in his division in terms of being a 6-time, 6th divisional world champion. So he's trying to push for a cruiserweight championship. So I understand where he's coming from. So that's probably why he's trying to keep active. And he was trying to get what's the guy's name, Marco Huck, but Marco Huck came and lost to
Glowacki.
He lost to him. So I don't know. That might have been scrapped because he had to make negotiations now with Glowacki. I don't know if he'll get through with that, but that's where he's going with his thing. With Paulie, I mean, I'm not mad at him for fighting again. I mean, he's not going to really fight in any top-class, top-rated boxers, so he should be able to, with his skills, at least put on a pretty decent performance, you know, against a regional champion or a regional person. So I don't really see a problem. I mean, boxing is dangerous, but, you know, you also can't quench the boxer's passion to want to box. Just that they need to know for themselves how dangerous, the danger that they're getting into, you know. I mean, Paulie's been knocked out now since like almost twice, right? Danny did kind of hurt him a bit, and Sean Porter really put some hurting on him. He's taken some damage throughout his career, so he just has to consider that.
Khan beat him up over time as well, so that was
a lot of people. Miguel Cotto, Khan, you know, and these are bad beatings. You know, it's not like you got knocked out and that was it. You got beaten, you know, for many rounds. But at the same time, you know, the damage has been done. If he can live with the consequences of that, you know, it's up to him. You know, with Roy, it's the same thing. He got knocked out cool a couple of times. You know, he took a couple beatings from some really Lebedev and all these guys, Glenn Glenn Johnson. So these guys have to know what it is. But they came into the sport being boxers. You know, if he feels he can do it, I mean, I'm not mad at him. He's a boxer, but just anytime he starts, well, it's going to pick up with him anyway. It's going to pick up with them anyway. They've already, so they have to know now how far they're willing to go, because this thing is, you know, boxing's a very dangerous sport on the body. It's basically you actually lower your testosterone levels and so on. The pituitary gets damaged. A lot of the hypothalamus in those areas get damaged very badly by all that trauma. You know, some people, they have hemorrhaging in. That's why you get Alzheimer's and you get dementia and all these other things that start to happen to fighters later on in their career. So once these guys understand the consequences of what they're doing, you know, and they are willing to pay the price for it, you know. But I wouldn't stop anybody from securing their dreams. If it was me, I'd probably want to do the same thing. So.
But that's why there's agencies to dictate and monitor these things, so that they don't let injured guys that don't think right anymore, just financially are broke and screwed, like Mosley and, you know, Roy Jones.
Jermaine Taylor. Jermaine Taylor was a scary one. Look what happened to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's still trying to fight.
But, you know, a guy like Jones in particular is diminishing his legacy every time he goes in the ring at this stage. Diminishing it. He's not helping himself. And this is a guy who can make a living. You know, he can make a living as a trainer. He can make a living as a commentator. He's not hurting for money. You know, I do understand a guy who can't eat and needs to get in the ring, you know, to fight to eat. But that's not Roy.
Yeah, we can say the same thing about Paulie. Paulie doesn't need to fight again. He's good financially. But these guys want to do it. They want to do it. They want to push themselves. So, I mean, that's something you and me, we could say they need to quit. They're not going to quit. They're not going to quit, right?
Oh, right,
so,
of course not. We have no say in it.
Not really.
Paulie is a little bit different case. First of all, he's 10 years younger. Second, you know, he made it very clear that if he lost his last fight, he was going to retire. And he more or less said, yeah, I'm going to retire, but no fighter likes to end their career on a loss. No, none. So that one I understand a little better. He's engineered himself this little sort of showcase. He can say he won, and, you know, if that's what he needs to walk away, that one I get. Roy, don't get that. Don't get that at all.
There's a bunch of them. I think this guy, he got knocked out recently as well, the heavyweight guy from Razor Ruddock. He got flattened just recently.
Right.
He had a comeback. Antonio Margarito's thinking of coming back. You know, Shane Mosley, he's doing his thing. So, I mean, look.
Yeah. Margarito's training right down the street from me, basically, and he's dead serious. He's talking to Top Rank, and I think it's crazy. But, you know.
Again, I would say that the guys, this is what, you take this away from them, it could really cripple their lives. Like, some of these guys, they're kind of like, they just need to just do this at least one time. Some of them need to get just, like, I think Boxing Beats and Ryan says, some of them just need to get beaten out the ring, which is terrible, but unfortunately.
Yeah, you're right about that, sadly.
Yeah, well, Margarito definitely needs the money. He just went through a very nasty, expensive divorce fight and, you know, custody issues, and they're all of his own doing, mind you. So,
oh dear.
You know, that's where he is. I'd rather not see him come back, frankly, but
I want to see him get revenge against Mosley.
Oh my God.
There you go.
Nope.
So you got one fan. You got one fan. And look, I'm all for that in a way, because, like, I want to see Mosley fight Zab Judah. That's to tell you the kind of thing. It's just a curiosity in my mind with Styles. And I think about Styles all the time. So for me, it would be interesting.
Yeah, but, you know, at some point, these guys have a long life to live in,
I know.
hope, outside the ring. They have families. They have people who care about them. And at some point, they are not equipped to do this.
That's why he's not sure if he's coming back or not. Because Marquez said his family.
You may have to mute your mic, Sean, because I'm hearing some now.
Oh, because Marquez, is that me?
No, it was Sean. Go ahead.
Okay, because Marquez said his family doesn't want him to return to the ring. So, but he wants to return to the ring. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's one of
Well,
those
we're
things
getting
where
ready. We're also getting really close to that break point, in my opinion, with Timothy Bradley.
I
And
think
he's going to
Bradley's
step
about
in against Brandon Rios, for Christ's sake.
once he fights smart. If he goes toe to toe with Rios, man, he's gonna just mess himself up some more.
Well,
Even if he
and
wins.
both Bradley and Rios have the same problem. They think they want to box. The next thing you know, all bets are off, and they're off to the races.
Nah,
And
the problem is they think with their wrong head. That's their problem.
That's correct. That is correct. Yes, absolutely right. So,
Unfortunately, that's what gives great fights.
yeah. Well, and now we have Teddy Atlas working with Bradley. I would like to think a trainer working with Bradley would instill some discipline in him and say, son, you can't do that. You do that, you're going to lose.
And you hurt yourself bad, too.
I think Bradley got far more buzzed in that fight by Provodnikov than we ever thought. I mean, we knew he was, he talked about how he knew he was concussed and, the immediate outcome of that and how it affected him. But I think we're still seeing some of the effects. And watching him fight Vargas here a few months ago, he almost lost himself that fight. If that fight had one more minute, much less one more round, he'd be in big trouble. He's a very lucky man.
Absolutely. Let's move on and talk about the fights that's upcoming this weekend. Deontay Wilder's returning to the ring. Who got the? You might have to mute your mic again, Sean. Deontay Wilder's returning to the ring. Is he fighting Johnny Duhaupas? If I'm sorry if I pronounced your name wrong. Saturday, Birmingham, Alabama. PBC on NBC card. Let's just call it out for what it is. On paper, this just looks like another showcase bout for Deontay Wilder until he eventually fights the mandatory. His name escapes me, but I'll go to you on this one. What you need. Talk about this bout. Do you see it as most folks see it as just like an easy win, easy work, and a showcase performance for Deontay Wilder?
It is a showcase performance. It's a stay busy fight, basically. And what is interesting is that fans say we need to see the fighters more active. But the thing about it's a kind of trade-off. It's like he's saying, oh, GGG doesn't fight anyone. But he fights 4 times a year. It's the same thing with Deontay Wilder. He's trying to stay busy so that when the big fight comes, he could fight the big fight. You know what I mean? So it's basically you have to have a trade-off. Some people say, well, Keith Thurman, he doesn't fight anybody, or he's not fighting, but he's fighting 3 times a year. So you have to look at the trade-off. And if you really go into the history of boxing, you'll notice that guys who fought 25 times a year or even 15 times a year, they basically fought like 2 to 3 to 4 good fights in that whole entire year. The other guys were like stay busy fights. You see what I'm saying? So that's just the nature of boxing. If you're going to fight more, you're obviously going to run out of good opponents to fight eventually. So you have to fight these other opponents, which can kind of keep you sharp, keep you busy. So it's one of the two. You either have big fights, but you're going to have fewer fights, or you have a lot of fights, but a lot of them are going to be feature fights to build up to a big fight. It's one or the other,
I'll go to you on this one, Sean. And the mandatory I was mentioning was Povetkin, which he's originally going to fight once he, I think, beats this guy rather easy. Go to you on this one, Sean. Expand or continue what you need was saying about the issue of stay busy fights and the complaints folks get about certain fighters get about, well, they need to fight this person, they need to fight this person, and the alternative being at least they're fighting. Speak on that, Sean. Unmute your mic, please.
First, Shane Mosley is being talked about fighting Ruslan in his next fight. So
no, Shane, don't do it.
I know, but to get back to your topic, this is normal. Like what Uni is saying. I mean, I have no problem when guys stay busy. I mean, it's understandable. It's part of the game. You need to stay busy, especially when you are building up and trying to stay in shape and be sharp and be in form for a big super fight that's coming your way. But I think some of the problem people have with Wilder is that his whole career has been stay busy. He's never had any big fights except the one fight he fought with Stavern to win the title. Prior to that, he didn't fight anybody. And since then, he's fought, I mean, Molina, fine. I mean, you could say that he is at least the kind of guy we would like to see him fight. Somebody who has fought somebody, you know. I mean, at least it's a test. I mean, it's not the highest level test, but at least he's fighting a name guy people are aware of who's fought some other big name guys. So we can use that to sort of evaluate where he's at. But fighting a guy like this guy, I mean, nobody knows who he is. He hasn't fought anybody. It sort of seems like a throwaway fight. And people could say, well, that's fine if this fight was leading to his mandatory fight with Povetkin. But from what I hear, Povetkin isn't going to take that fight right away anyway. Povetkin apparently has a big fight set up in Russia. So that's his priority, to fight this big fight in Russia before he worries about Deontay Wilder. So that fight just means it's going to be pushed back even later. So, you know, at this stage, Wilder could have stepped up to fight at least a guy that was more of Molina's sort of level, a guy who's been in with quality fighters, maybe didn't win, but at least showed something, and then we could use that as a way to see really where he's at. I mean, nobody's trying to rip Wilder. We would love to see him become the legitimate heavyweight champion, you know, that fights out of the U.S., and then have the big U.S.-UK rivalry down the road. That would be great for boxing, and it would be excellent. And if you're a boxing fan, why wouldn't you want to see that? But in the meantime, let's see some legitimate fights. That's all. Just some legitimate fight. It doesn't have to be like the top echelon guys, but at least fights against people who we think deserve to be in the ring with you.
Your thoughts on this bout, Gail?
Well, hey, you know, you guys are trashing Wilder's opponent. He's the #1 ranked heavyweight in France. All kidding aside, he is also...
And you heard the crickets on that, right? And you heard folks with crickets
yeah,
when you said that, right?
I heard the crickets. He is also the former European Union heavyweight champion.
Again,
okay,
crickets.
more crickets. And this is only going to be his third 12-round fight of his whole damn career. Yeah, it's a make-work fight. I mean, yeah, he's got these nominal, get him out of a Cracker Jack box belts. He's a tall fighter. He's 6'5", so he's a big guy, you know. I'm at least glad that he will present, at least physically, a decent size match for Wilder. I've seen Wilder fight some guys that, I mean, Wilder standing next to them looked like the number 10 written out in Human Beings. It was awful. At least we're not going to see that. The other plus of this fight, in addition to keeping Wilder active, is something that you and I have talked about, Michael. The fight's in Birmingham, Alabama, a place that is not seeing a whole lot of legitimate championship fights. They got a great turnout for him last time in Alabama. He's moving to a different venue. They're going to have another huge turnout. Anybody in Bama is going to be there. And you've seen them talking about how excited they are to get this fight there. I do think that aspect of it is really good for boxing, to have it there. Just like Terrence Crawford has staged his fights in Omaha, and it's just been a spectacle there. You know, huge success. You know, and when you have a guy like Wilder with people who don't want to get in the ring with you, you know, it's the same type of criticism to a lesser extent that you get with guys like Golovkin. You know, at some point people don't want to get in with you. So, you know, presented a lot of, you know, not the best options. Wilder and his handlers and PBC and Al Heyman, you know, and everybody took the best option they could. I don't fault him for it. I don't pretend this fight is, you know, anything greater than it is, even though he's the #1 ranked heavyweight in France. Come on. You know, he's doing the best he can with what he's got to work with. I don't fault him for it. I don't think we expect any any outcome different than you know, another quick finish. That's fine. You know, and hopefully this will lead to getting that fight with Povetkin, and then eventually getting that fight with Klitschko before Vladimir decides to hang it up. Although Vladimir is saying, he feels good. He doesn't seem to show any signs of wanting to retire anytime soon. Good.
Yeah, absolutely. What you need mentioned here in the private chat, Thurman's trying to do the same thing, fighting in Florida as well, and that's the main purpose of this fight, to up Deontay Wilder's profile, to build him a base here in the Southeast, Alabama specifically. And in that issue, I have no problem with it, so long as he steps up the competition in 2016, which he hopefully will do, and fight Povetkin first quarter of next year, his mandatory. But it is what it is. He's going to blow this guy out in 6 rounds at the most. But it's just to up his profile, to build his base, and you will see on Saturday night, you will see a big crowd, a lot of folks there cheering, and that's the purpose of this fight. I want to move on to talk about another fight happening the same night in Mexico. Juan Francisco Estrada, and I'm going right back to you on this one, Gail. Juan Francisco Estrada, one of the most improved fighters in the sport over the past 2.5, 3 years. We talked about it at the beginning of the show with Boxing Beats when I was breaking down my lower weight rankings. He's fighting Hernan Tyson Marquez, former flyweight champion himself. Fight's going to happen again in Mexico, and I'm going to you on this one, Gail. On paper, I know this looks good, but this is just my opinion. I just think that what Valoria did to Marquez, Estrada's going to do the same thing, but he's going to execute a lot better because he's a better overall boxer than Valoria. I just think it will be Marquez will have his spots because of his power, but I just think the overall skill and class of Estrada and the deficiencies of Marquez will take a toll over time, and I just think Estrada will win. I think he will possibly stop him late, say 10th round.
Don't disagree with that at all the way around. Once again, I think it's taking the best of the options you have before you. We would all wish for other fights sometimes, but I'd rather see them, even with a substandard opponent, than not at all. I would rather see them in there doing something like this than the problem we had with that we are still having with Andre Ward. Get in there, does it become well, I think in this case the fight would be far better than a glorified sparring session. But I agree with your assessment. I can't see Estrada really being challenged.
I'll go to you on this one, Sean. Your thoughts on this big bout in Mexico, but I think Estrada is the clear favorite here, Sean.
Well, I think this is just one of those circumstances where Estrada wants the Gonzalez fight, so he's got to make himself relevant, especially now fighting around the same time Roman Gonzalez is fighting, a fight that he's been pushing for but hasn't been able to be made. So he's fighting a name opponent from the division. And, Tyson Marquez is a name opponent. I mean, he's past his prime, on the downslide. Valoria beat him, a few years ago, and he hasn't really done anything since then. But at the same time, it's mostly just to make people aware of who he is and what level of fighter he is, so that he can push himself for the big fight. Now that Roman Gonzalez is getting his second fight in the U.S., it's building his brand. He's now considered #1 pound for pound by some rankings in the world. So, this is a fight that Estrada definitely wants, because beating Roman Gonzalez, I mean, it propels him, boom, right to the top. So, and everybody that questions Roman Gonzalez, this is the kind of fight that they want as well. A great rematch against a top caliber fighter.
Excuse me.
A legitimate pound for pound fighter.
I go to you when I mentioned this about what should he. I heard you kind of give a woo there. It looks like it seems you're looking forward to this bout. Speak on it.
Yeah. Because I know it's going to be an action-packed fight. That's what I know. That's the fun part about it. So that's why I'm excited about it. But yeah, to the point. I mean, when he went up to super flyweight and he faced Nonito, I don't know, man. After that, I don't know, because it seemed as though people knew how to kind of carry him the distance and then take him out. So that's the thing I see there. But it still should be a fun fight though.
Yeah, it will be fun, but I just think overall that Estrada at this point he's a much better fighter.
Definitely.
He has too much skill wise for the likes of a limited Marquez, who, like I said, he has power. So it will be interesting to see. Well, no, it won't be because Gonzalez he landed a fair share of hard shots on Estrada's chin too, and Estrada took it and took it well. Same thing with Valoria. So even in that scenario, I just think Estrada he just has too much for Tyson Marquez all around. Like I said, I see a stoppage mid-late, 10 rounds or just a
eighth round somewhere.
8-10 or just a complete one-sided decision. Either him getting counted out or just being stopped because of too much punishment. I think we're going to end the show. Well, I don't know if you want to talk about this fight. Kazuta Ioka's fighting a guy. Is mandatory against Sosa. Anybody have any thoughts on that bout?
None.
Sean,
but
go ahead. Go ahead, Gil. Go ahead, finish your thought.
But I will point out while we're wrapping up here on the undercard of the Wilder fight, you're gonna have Dominic Breazeale back in action against Fred Cassie.
Right, that's the guy that did pretty good. Fight.
Yeah. Fred Cassie was the the guy that came out of nowhere. He had been very inactive, not a poor fighter, but just incredibly inactive fighter.
He got knocked out by Mansour.
From Cameroon, living in New Orleans, mixed it up with Chris Areola, was it more Areola having a lackluster fight than Cassie having a surprisingly decent fight? Hard to say, but Cassie acquitted himself well, so he's going to mix it up with Dominic Breazeale. It's going to be, yet another fight where people are going to say, oh, Breazeale's, not stepping up the caliber of competition, but he is getting back in there. It's a 10-round fight. I think that's probably the most interesting fight on the undercard. One other fight I think was worth mentioning from the week before as we're wrapping up was on the undercard of the J-Rock Williams fight was Moises Flores' win by knockout right at the end of the fight. He was certainly doing damage when that fight was stopped, but I would like to see it go a little farther. But not a bad fight for him. He's an interesting super middleweight competitor, and he is the guy that they call Chucky. So if you go to a fight where he is, his fans are in the arena, they all hold up Chucky dolls. It's hilarious. But we'll be seeing more of him.
That's funny.
And he is undefeated at this point, so we will definitely be seeing more of him. Chucky Flores.
Ioka, I mean, it's not a fight to pass by. I mean, it's a legitimate fight. He's number 3 behind Gonzalez and Estrada. And after Roman Gonzalez beats Valoria, he's still promoted by a Japanese Tekken company. So this could very well be his next fight. I mean, this is a guy who Michael referred to earlier, lost to the Thai guy who's really tall and a great boxer, but a little awkward and dirty. But he just beats the big Argentinian guy who was a champion of Repco. And now this is another big fight to get in there. And I mean, this fight is probably more legitimate than Estrada's fight with Tyson Marquez. So it's something to look forward to. Depending on what he does in this fight, don't be surprised if this is the next guy moving his calendar sometime in December. Because then he could go back to Japan. I mean, he's still promoted by the Japanese company, and he really has made a name for himself in Japan originally.
Any thoughts? You have any thoughts on that about what you need the Ioka bout happening Sunday against Sosa, who I believe is mandatory?
No, not really.
Okay. Well, yeah, to Sean's point, Ioka, before the loss to Roy last year, January 2014, highly regarded. A little bit of an asterisk because he turned down the fight with Roman Gonzalez, but even though he lost that bout with Roy, he's still a very talented fighter. Top half of the flyweight rankings, in my opinion. So it'll be interesting to see how he will look in this fight with Sosa. I know the fight it was supposed to fight earlier this year, but it didn't for some reason. Now it's happened again. Bit of a grudge match between the two. So I'm somewhat interested in that. So I think on that note, we're going to close things down, shut things down for the show. Go around the panel here, around the table here, get you opportunity to let the folks know where they can talk boxing or anything else with you. Gail Falkenthal, Communities Digital News. For folks who want to talk boxing or anything else, Game of Thrones, Dancing with the Stars, let the folks know where they can find you. Empire, let the folks know where they can find you.
Empire, great return last night. You can find me at Communities Digital News. That's com with 2 M's, com, C-O-M-M, digi, D-I-G-I, news.com. Of course, on the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, you'll see me commenting in various spots. And if a fight's going on, toe-to-toe Tuesday, crazy stuff on Friday nights, even if it's on Bounce TV, I'm usually on Twitter chatting with various other fight freaks and boxing heads. And by the way, that Morales Barrera 2 throwdown news conference was in Houston, Texas.
I thought it was in the States. I thought it was in the States.
And it started making me think about some of these other dust-ups, and the one that came to mind was Hopkins and Trinidad. That was a pretty crazy one. That's where Hopkins threw the flag down on the ground and
that happened in New York City, in New York. So yeah absolutely.
That was not taken too well. In fact, Hopkins has been involved in a couple, because then it also made me think about Hopkins and Wiki Wright, and that one got crazy too. So there have been some crazy things go on in some of these news conferences.
Yeah, absolutely. Join us live from Taiwan. Sean Newton, for folks who want to talk boxing or anything else, let the folks know we can hit you up and talk about your kind of series of, if you will, of your video series on YouTube.
Yeah, I'm on YouTube. So if I'm not watching somebody's channel, then recently I've been making videos just because lots of topics are frustrating. So sometimes you just need to vent and get your ideas out there. Not just talking about boxing, but I'll be talking a little bit about basketball as well. And so if you like either one of those two sports, you can always tune in and check it out. Yeah, so that's where I am. And I was going to say, Gotham season 2 just came out too. Great show.
Oh yeah! I forgot about Gotham. I forgot about it. What You Need, join us live from Trinidad. For folks who want to talk boxing and anything else, let the folks know where they can find you and talk about your current video series that you're doing right now.
Well, if you want to find me, What You Need on YouTube, like the name says, right in the top right corner, and
spell it out for folks who maybe listen to a podcast who will listen later on Stitcher Radio.
All right, WATTUNEED. What You Need. Yep. And we do a number of video series. Of course, Floyd Mayweather TBE is a series that is going to come out. I'm watching that show on, it's fun for me to do that. Also, as I said before, Jose Luis Castillo versus Roberto Duran, skill set and level of opposition up to lightweight. That is coming out very soon, as well as I have a number of other videos, but this one I really want people to look at, Boxers Not Talked About Today. I think that's a good series that kind of recaps some of the outstanding boxers of times past up to the present time. So that's one of them. There's 100 million others, but that's basically it. We'll keep it that.
Oh, absolutely. Now, since Boxing Beats and Rhymes joined us early on the show for the announcement, for those who are listening to the show, well, you'll find out in the beginning of the show. You do a search of Boxing Beats and Rhymes. Just go to Boxing Beats and Rhymes on YouTube and on G+. And go to Boxing Beats and Rhymes on Twitter as well. You can find him there. Boxing Beats and Rise on Twitter. Just do a search in that. You should be able to find him. Again, for just a reminder, Boxing Beats and Rise and myself, as well as some others within the YouTube boxing community, we're coming together doing a project, a venture, boxing venture, if you will, of our own little ranking systems to help muddle the confusion that many have who in the sport in terms of who's the best here, who's the best there, pound for pound rankings and all that stuff. We're coming together, if you will, to have our own little ranking system, and hopefully it's something we're really looking forward to. We all believe has some potential moving forward. If you want to, and if you go to do a search of Boxing Beats World Rankings on Facebook, you should be able to find it there, and I will be posting updates and whatever on the blog page as well as here on the Pound for Pound YouTube page as well. So just look out for that. It's a venture we're all looking forward to. We think it has a lot of potential. If you want to find information about me, talking boxing or anything else, y'all know what it is. Brother JR76 on Twitter. If you want to find all things Pound for Pound Boxing Report, just go to the blog page, P4P Boxing Report.wordpress.com, and repeat that, P4P Boxing Report.wordpress.com. If you look to the right of the blog page, you will find links to find us all over the interwebs, all over YouTube, all over social media. We got links. We are everywhere: Facebook, G+, Twitter, YouTube, Tumblr, Podomatic, RSS feed. If you want to subscribe to there, we got a Flipboard magazine, Stitch Radio, as well as the email account if you want to donate. If you want to email us, just go to p4pboxingrpt@gmail.com as well as link to donate your account. On the next episode of the Pound for Pound Boxing Report, we will do a recap of Wilder's bout against Duhaupas. We will also do a recap of Tyson Marquez fighting Juan Francisco Estrada, and we will do a preview, and we may talk about the Ioka bout. I'm not sure. And we will do a preview of a fight I'm really looking forward to. Lucas Matisse, he's fighting Victor Postal for the vacant WBC junior welterweight belt. Also on that weekend, Adrian Broner, he's going to be fighting Khabib. Help him out with his last name, folks. I can't pronounce it.
Alek Verdiev.
Alek Verdiev. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. We would do a preview of that bout as well. So again, for Gail Falkenthal of Communities Digital News, for Sean Newton, for What You Need, and for what Boxing Beats and Ryan, who joined us earlier. I'm your host, Michael. This has been another episode 97, the Pound for Pound Boxing Report. You have a good evening. Good night.
Good night.
All right. Peace, everybody.